Hi, welcome to Gemini Star Spiritual Wellness. Thank you for joining me today. Hope you're doing well. I'm grateful that you're here with me today for this video. So, this video, we're going to be looking at taking a deep, detailed look at the heart chakra. But before we get started into that, please like and subscribe. Please hit the like button so that other people that need to see this information will get it. And also hit the subscribe button so you'll get future videos that I put out. But before we get into the heart chakra, I realized I did the solar plexus chakra video a couple days ago, and I realized that I forgot to go over the crystals that are associated with the solar plexus, and I didn't realize my mistake till I had already published the video out to the public, so there was no way I could fix it. So I'm going to spend just a brief second discussing the solar plexus crystals, and then we'll get right into the heart chakra. So the solar plexus let's see, I've got crystals. I got some here, citrine, topaz, and tiger's eye. So I'm going to start with the citrine. I brought it so you could see it, get it in the camera. And it's a very pretty yellow color. There's different colors of citrine. I've seen them in different colors, but this one, I really like this one. I meditate with this one on a regular basis. It's a very nice stone. You can see it's yellow, just like the solar plexus chakra. And I don't have any topaz to show you, but I do have tiger's eye. I really like tiger's eye because I love the way the patterns go into the crystal, like how they have those layers of patterns. Here's my other one. You can see very, very beautiful stone. Look at that. It's very cool, shiny, and it's just those beautiful patterns. And I also have a tiger's eye bracelet that I like to wear, that I wear on a regular basis as well. So those are the crystals that are associated with the solar plexus chakra. So I'm sorry that I left them out of the old other video. Just, it just escaped me until I didn't even realize it till after I had posted it. So let's get right into the heart chakra. So I even wore I don't know if you can see it with my hair in a way, but I wore a green t-shirt today to go along with the heart chakra information. So heart chakra is associated with the color green, but for those who see the heart chakra energy, that you can see the energy around it, they say that it has a pink hue to it. So it can also be pink, can also be the color for the heart chakra. So green or pink hue, and its element is air, and it is basically the center of our spiritualness. And so what I mean by that is our spiritual self. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. They're here in front of me. So if I look down, I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. So the heart chakra is basically about unconditional love, and it's the center of our spiritual self. And it works as an anchor and is a bridge between the lower three chakras, which are connected to the physical body, and then the upper three chakras, which are connected to the our spiritual self. So we've got that. So it's a bridge and anchor between the two. It connects the spiritual and the physical together. And it's also all about unconditional love. So that would make sense because it's a very important chakra. And, the divine is all about unconditional love. Like everything he does is unconditional love. It's all about unconditional love. The ascension process, energy, everything is about unconditional love. And so the heart chakra is so important. It's so important to open that chakra and have it spinning properly, but also because everything's tied into unconditional love, including our spiritual self. So that's why it's the anchor, the bridge, because it goes back to how important, because everything goes back to unconditional love, if that makes sense. So basically, one of the things that our heart chakra is connected to unconditional love, like I said, but also emotional connectedness and compassion. It influences our ability to receive and give love, which is important, but also helps us to, also influences how we develop deep, meaningful relationships. So, you think about it. I mean, some people really have an issue with receiving and giving love, and that can have an impact on their heart chakra. And this chakra is developed from the ages of 21 to 28. So when you think about that, that's when you're really in your life learning about deep love relationships. And of course, you have deep relationships with your family before that as a child, But it's really at this age of 21 to 28 that you understand deep love relationships. Even if you had, love for your family as a child, you really understand it on a deeper level when you get into your 20s. And that's also when a lot of people start, having like romantic relationships and having children. So that's really when you start learning about unconditional love and deep love relationships during that time period. Now, if you've had trauma or things happen in your life that have a negative impact on how you give and receive love and deep meaningful relationships, then it can definitely, during that time frame, from 21 to 28, then it can definitely have an impact on how that chakra develops. And then you could have issues with it later in life, like negative patterns that you have to acknowledge and release, or things like that. There could be issues with that chakra later if there was things that happened during 21 to 28 that were a trauma when that chakra was basically being developed. And so it's something that you might struggle with later on if you don't address it and try to release those patterns, trying to basically heal from those traumas. And I feel like, this is one of those chakras where I feel like a lot of people struggle with this one because, we're really not taught how to have healthy relationships or healthy love relationships. And probably most people have had, probably more negative examples in their life with this than they have positive examples. And so therefore, you're kind of going into it at at a negative, if that makes sense, because you don't really know, and then you're trying to figure it out in your 20s, and sometimes you'll follow those patterns from childhood that you've been shown, or what you were taught as a kid on how relationships are, and it could be toxic, and then you find yourself having a negative influence over that chakra when it's developing, and then you're dealing with it later on once you get past the age of 28. You're learning how, you have to deal with that and learn how to release that trauma, release that negative energy, and it can be more challenging. So I feel like the heart chakra is just so important. And that's probably one of the reasons why we really need to keep it spinning as properly as we can, just because of what I said, just because I think a lot of people just have not properly learned how to be in a relationship or what healthy relationships look like. And so they're coming at it from a negative point even before they get to the age of 21. And that's a possibility, but that's just my thoughts on it. But I definitely think it could have a negative impact. But also, so if this chakra is running, if it's spinning properly and spinning the way it should be and it's balanced, you're going to have a lot of joy and compassion. You're going to definitely have empathy for others and have like a strong connection with other people, be very trusting to other people, of course, have a sense of love, a strong sense of love, but also an inner peace and stability that comes kind of like with self love, loving of self. So, inner peace, stability, positive energy, but also forgiveness, which is interesting that you would have a strong sense of forgiveness. And that's something I feel. This is another reason why I think the heart chakra is one of those chakras that people really need to, everyone really needs to work on, because forgiveness can be very hard for people, and it's so easy to hold on to that hurt and that negative anger, negative energy and anger, and stew in it and, hang on to that. But that's not doing you any good with your heart chakra. So you really need to learn how to release that. Now, if it's blocked, the physical symptoms, if the heart chakra is blocked, would be like you could have, high blood pressure, you could have heart disease, you could even have cardiac arrest, something like that. Some kind of heart ailments can be part of it physically, but in a non-physical sense, if your heart chakra is blocked, then you could be feeling lonely. You could be feeling holding grudges, kind of what I was saying about the negative energy and being with forgiveness, feeling isolated, having difficulty trusting other people, and having a lot of fear. So having a lot of fear is connected to the heart chakra, which is interesting. Um, so okay, I'm just looking at my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. So the heart chakra is connected to the thymus, and the thymus is part of the lymphatic system, if I said that right. And it's also connected to the respiratory and circulatory system. And so the primary function of the thymus is the body's resistance to infection and the development of antibodies. So it has a big part to do with our immune system. So if your emotions are not balanced, it can have a negative effect on your thymus, but also it can affect our immune system as well in a negative way. And of course, if your immune system gets low, then you can get, you're opening up to getting sick. So when like extreme blockages of the heart chakra can have, like I was saying, the heart ailments, even cardiac arrest and things like that. So one of the things I want to mention is with this, along with this, is when you have that, say, we're talking about blockage of the heart chakra, when you have negative events that happen, while it's developing or just throughout your life, such as abandonment and betrayal, which are really two big ones that a lot of people struggle with in their life, then the negative energy of those experiences can cause blockages. And a lot of times you just have, a lot of times you have to learn to recognize the blockage and then basically transmute that negative energy to positive and learn to let go of issues with abandonment and betrayal. And I bring this up because I just, like I said, I feel like these are some issues that many people deal with in their lifetime, is abandonment and betrayal. And so that can really have a negative impact on your heart chakra. And I think as you become more self-aware, you'll understand what your negative patterns are, and you'll be able to see what you're doing with the negative, how you're reliving these negative patterns, and how you're holding on to that, trauma of the abandonment, betrayal, and then learning how to transmute it and let it go is so very important. And one thing I just want to add, I recently, and I can't remember where I read this at. I read it recently, but my mind goes blank. I should have wrote it down, but I can't remember where I saw it. But they were talking about one of the things, and this was very interesting. We've all been taught that your heart's an organ and it pumps blood, right? That's what it does. But there's so much more to the heart than that. In fact, it's not even a pump. It is like it's circulatory. It has, it's all like it has electromagnetic pulses to it, right? And energy, but it works like as a circular, it works in a circular fashion, so it's not even a pump as what we always thought it was. So there's so much more to the heart than what we think it is, and I think like that information is going to come out more and more about the truth of what the heart's really about, because I feel like the heart is connected very deeply to our spiritual energetic body. And like I said, it's that anchor and bridge. And so it's not just this pump that pumps blood. It's so much more than that that we haven't been taught. Like it's, like I said, it's circulatory. It's got this low electromagnetic field to it. So it has a very important part as far as anchoring the spiritual with the physical in our body, because we're all here as spiritual beings in physical bodies having a physical experience. And so the divine wanted to make sure that there's a connection between, while we're in our physical bodies, there's a connection with us with the spiritual. That connection needs to stay in place. And in the heart is one of those places where we connect with the divine, and we continue that connection through unconditional love. And so that's why it's so important. That chakra is so important because it keeps us, while we're in this physical state, it keeps us connected to the divine, keeps us connected to our spiritual selves and to our higher self. And that's extremely important. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I just recently found out about the circulatory, and I wanted to add that to the video today. And going back to the blockage, I just want to add this as well. So I had I like to get Reiki sessions done on me and on a regular basis. And every once in a while, I feel like I call it a tune-up because that's really what it is. It's like a spiritual tune-up for me. And so I try to get them done every couple months, but it had been a while since I've had one, just because I've been so busy with my work and things going on in my life. And I just kept, forgetting to do it. But eventually it's like, I really can feel a difference. Like, okay, I need to get in there and get a tune-up. So I got my tune-up last week and met with my Reiki, lady, and she's very good. And I definitely one of the things that she mentioned, which I thought was really cool, is, I had this energetic shift that happened in the last 3 weeks and to a much lighter, higher vibrational energy. And I felt like any blockages or things that were kind of heavy on me, energy was gone. And she mentioned that she saw that during the session. And she also saw that my heart chakra was opening. And which is really interesting because I felt like my heart chakra was open pretty good already. But I've been working on it, and I was like, oh yeah, because I can definitely see how, if I compare myself to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, my heart chakra is a lot more open. But apparently it's opening even more, it's even more opening. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. So it just goes to show you that this whole ascension process is a process. And it's not like you do a little bit of work and you're done with it. It's like a continuation. So I was kind of like, okay, well, cool. This is continuing to open. That's a good thing. But so it's something that we're always working on and always continuing. But one of the next things I want to talk about is how the heart chakra is connected to our electromagnetic field. So as I discussed in previous chakra videos, is we have a electromagnetic field that's around our body, and it's 7 layers, and each layer is connected to one of the chakras. And that electromagnetic field that's around our body helps nourish our body, especially the root chakra, because it's connected to all 7. And so the source energy, divine energy coming from the divine light energy, comes up into the electromagnetic field, and it basically helps keep us alive and functioning in this physical plane, is a way to put it. It helps keep nourishing us and that with that light energy, and we need it to survive. So it's very important. These 7 layers are very important. But the heart chakra is connected to the 4th layer, which is called the ethereal layer, and around our body, and it's about 6 inches to 12 inches away from your body. So it's about a foot away from your body. Oh, sorry, trying to cut. There you go, foot away from your body. So it can be pretty far away from your body, and so it can be seen as different colors. So some people, say it looks like the emotional layer colors, but has like a pink hue to it. But it has different colors. This layer, this particular 4th layer, the astral layer, has different colors to it. And this layer, it helps us basically. Well, it's the way I'm trying to think of how to say it. This layer is the way that we learn and we love others. So this layer of love is how we love others. And as we develop, and this is very important, as we develop relationships with other people, we actually have cords coming from the chakras that connect to that person. And so you have an energetic connection with them, not even if you're not like physically around them, there's still an energetic connection to them. So if you're in a group of people, say you go into a big room and there's a lot of people there, there's a lot of different energy in that room, and so you've got energy moving very quickly between people, and and you're going to pick up on that. You're going to feel that, and it's the interactions between each other with the energy is very quick, and it can be positive or negative. So if you ever walked into a room and you really had a negative bad feeling while you're in the room, that's because the energy in that room was very negative, and that's what the energy those people were putting out in that room. But the same thing if it's positive, you can go into a room full of people and have a very positive uplifting feeling. That's because the people in that room are high vibrational, and it's high energy, positive energy. So the interesting thing about cutting cords is that even if a relationship ends, if you can still be attached to that person through that energetic cord. So if you want to sever that cord, which if the relationship's over, especially if it was a toxic relationship, then I would definitely suggest cutting the cord. And there's different techniques on how to do that. It's not very hard. But you definitely want to sever that cord, because even if you end the relationship with someone and you're no longer physically around them or even talking to them, if that cord's attached to them, they still attach to them, that you still have that a connection with them. So basically what will happen is energetically you'll still be connected. So you might have dreams about them, you might think about them a lot, and it might be hard to move on from that relationship and let go, because you're still connected to them energetically. And so it's going to be a lot harder to let go of that situation and move forward. So I would suggest, if you end a relationship, especially if it's a toxic relationship, because you don't want their toxic energy to be continuing to influence you energetically and have an influence on your life, you want to get away from that. So I would definitely suggest doing cord cutting techniques to break that connection, so you're no longer having their energy influence you, especially in a negative way. You don't want it to influence them in a negative way. But if you want to move on from a relationship, you don't want anything holding you back. So I mean, whether it's a toxic relationship or not, I would still do the cord cutting techniques, just so that you can kind of make a clean break and move forward with your life. And you know, basically open up for new relationships, better relationships to come into your life. Because if you're holding on to that energy, that's going to block positive new relationships to come into your life. So you definitely want to let go of that energy. And and you definitely, especially if it's toxic, you want to let go of that energy, so that you can bring new, better energy and new, better people and relationships into your life. So I would definitely, recommend those techniques. And like I said, it's not hard to do. You can find them on YouTube. And I might in a future video go over how you can do that, because I've done it in my life. It's not very hard at all, but it's definitely, I would recommend it for whenever you're ending a situation or a relationship. I just think it's important. So I think I covered everything. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything like I did last time. But I think, yeah, I think I did cover everything. So I just want to end on the crystals for the heart chakra. So of course, unconditional love is the main theme of the heart chakra. So rose quartz, ruby, meltonite, emerald, jade, aquamarine, and I'm trying to read my handwriting here. Rhodocresonite. I think that's how you say it. But I have two examples here to show you. The first one is jade. And this is my little piece of jade. I need to get more. I don't have, it's kind of a rough cut. It's not real, polished or anything, but I like this little piece of jade, but I'd like to get more. And it's just a nice, pretty stone, very nice stone. And then I really like, this is my rose quartz, and and I have a rose quartz necklace that's the shape of a heart that I like to wear. It's really pretty. But this is the one I meditate with, and I like to use this one and put it on my heart chakra when I'm meditating. I can't know if you can tell, it's very light pink, so it almost looks like it's white and translucent, but it's a very nice piece of quartz. But it's very pretty stone. So those are my two examples of the heart chakra crystals that you can have. But it's very interesting that you can also use ruby and emerald for an aquamarine, which are popular stones as well, and malachite. And rhodocresonite. So there's definitely different options you can use for crystals that help with the heart chakra. So, I definitely, when I was looking at the blockages, when I was preparing and doing my notes for this video, and I was looking at the blockages and how people, the blockages that can happen and are non-physical, like the feeling lonely and holding grudges and fear, especially fear, difficulty trusting people. I feel like a lot of people suffer for those issues, because as I was reading it, I thought, wow, I know a lot of people that struggle with these things. So they probably might need a heart chakra tune-up, and clearing to help get their heart chakra working properly. So I think that's definitely something a lot of people probably need to work on, just from what I've seen from the blockages. And that I feel like a lot of people, like I said earlier, struggle with this. And then just remember, you've got your heart chakra is also a front and back chakra. So you've got the little funnel coming out front, but it's also behind you as well. So just keep that in mind, that there's, two sides to it as well. So Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one. The next chakra video will be on the throat chakra, and I'll be putting that one out soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.